Now, the Subway Final Word.
Good evening, I'm Albie Oxenrider, and welcome again to the Subway Final Word, the show that invites you into the conversation. And let's get started by introducing you to tonight's three panelists. The afternoon host at 105.9 The X, Mark Madden, and from the Trib, Dan Kovacevic and Josh Yohe in tonight. Hi, guys.
Hi, Albie.
Tonight's big topics, the Penguins, and should one of their stars be on the trading block? We'll debate that. The NHL and the outdoor games, is the league overdoing this? And is this the year the bus finally gets into the Hall of Fame? We're also going to talk about new Steelers O-line coach Mike Munchak. What impact might he have on the Steelers in 2014? And safety and security at the Sochi Olympics, only 11 days away. Let's start with the Penguins and the subject of a trade or a possible trade. Should the Pens consider dealing defenseman Kris Letang? Dan, you wrote about this very thing in a recent Trib column.
Well, to me, and as I stretched out there in the column, it's a matter of whether or not you want to win a championship. You know, people hear the suggestion that you trade Kris Letang and they think, oh, wait a second, why do you hate Kris Letang, or what's wrong with Kris Letang? It's not about that. It's about taking a valuable piece and sending it out for pieces that you need. Even more than that. Right now, the Penguins are a team that's missing a first-line right winger. They're missing all kinds of depth at the rest of the forward positions. As we've seen now, they haven't scored a goal on the third or fourth line since December 19th. This team needs help at forward. If we're going to be talking about championships, then you're making big-time impact moves. Kris Letang is that piece.
Josh?
Well, Kris has certainly become the most polarizing of the Penguins this season, and I'll be the first to admit he is not having a good year. Not at all. And he needs to play at a far different level if this team is going to win a Stanley Cup. And I'd be careful trading him. Is he untouchable? No. But I will tell you, just because he's had a couple of months does not mean, a couple of poor months doesn't mean this isn't a wonderful talent and a guy who has been a great player for the Penguins the last 3 or 4 seasons. I think he was one of the best defensemen in the league the last 2 regular seasons when healthy. So would I be totally against trading him? Maybe not, but I'm willing to bet on him that he will rebound a little bit and be the player that we saw for the past couple of seasons, because if he does, that's a real difference maker.
But Josh, that's exactly the point. If he's a great player, if he's got great value, all the more reason to trade him for great return. They're not mutually exclusive.
Let's get to the voice of authority, shall we?
All right, the Maddentron 2000 is accompanying Mark.
The bottom line is this. With the cap being such an issue for so many teams, so many contenders spending up to or close to the top of the cap, no team's going to be able to take on Letang during the season. At least a very limited number, so that limits your trading partners, which limits the value you would get back. Second off, they're not talking about trading Letang, so it's almost moot to discuss it. Thirdly, you can get the parts that Dejan's talking about by trading a Simone Dupre. You don't need to get a first-team all-star NHL right wing. You just need someone to keep up with Crosby. You don't need to get Steve Ott. You need a reasonable facsimile on that third line. You don't need to trade Letang to get that. If you trade him, the biggest return would come in the offseason. Furthermore, there's no good reason to trade Letang ever.
Mark,
people talk about, let me finish.
All right.
First off, people talk about Pouliot and Matt, a young defenseman.
Yeah.
They can't do what Letang does. They're not as good as Letang is. They're not as talented as Letang is. Letang can lug the puck out of danger and create offense out of nothing. If the Penguins trade him, they have no one to pick up that slack.
You made a lot of good points there, especially the part about the salary being taken on late in the season. I'll agree with that one wholeheartedly. It does limit the scope of the teams. But Simone Dupre for a first-line right winger? On
Absolutely.
What planet? On what planet? Do you think?
I don't know, the same planet where they got Chris Kunitz for Ryan Whitney,
And
the
you
same
know-
planet where they got
you-
James Neal for
you
Alex
know-
Delagoski.
you-
That planet, planet Earth.
That planet where Joe Nieuwendyke's no longer employed as a general manager. These people aren't stupid. They're
There's a
looking
lot
at
of
Simone
suckers out
Dupre.
there. There's a shortage of defensemen. They can get what they need for Simone Dupre and will do so.
Dupre is in Wilkes-Barre for a reason. Other
Because they don't like
GMs
him.
know that.
Because
You're
they don't like
not
him.
going to get.
And because they don't have. They do have 6 better defensemen than Dupre, but most teams don't.
You're not going
Most
to get
teams don't.
championship level return as a
They can
first-line
and will.
right winger for Simone Dupre, or really, I think anybody else that they'd be giving up that would be reasonable.
They can and will.
A
You have to ask
reminder to
yourself
keep the
this-
comments coming. You can find us on Twitter at WPXI Final Word, on Facebook at The Final Word. Some fans on Twitter blasted us for feeding into the narrative, but this tweet thinks a trade should be considered. If the offer for Letang is right, The Pens should take it. If not, it certainly won't hurt to have him. His upside's amazing. Thanks for that comment. The NHL Outdoor Stadium Series going strong. Last night at Dodger Stadium, the Kings played the Ducks. Today at Yankee Stadium, the Rangers played the Devils. On Wednesday at Yankee Stadium, the Rangers will be playing again against the Islanders. And on March 1st at Chicago Soldier Field, the Pens will play the Blackhawks here in Channel 11. Is this too much outdoor hockey in addition to the Winter Classic? Is the NHL overdoing it with the outdoor games? Remember, Winter Classic is played every New Year's Day, and now all these games are stuffed into a short period of time. Mark, what do you think? Are you okay with this?
To quote a great man in a great movie, Albie, too much too soon. There's no reason to have all these outdoor games. When there was one a year, maybe two, with the Canadian Heritage Classic, it became destination viewing for every hockey fan. Everyone talked about it. Everybody watched it. I'm sure the ratings for these games will be high. They're selling a lot of tickets, and that certainly means a lot in the NHL, where ticket revenue means more than any other league. But these games don't feel special anymore. And knowing them, they'll go even further and totally kill the golden goose to the point where these games won't even be guaranteed sellouts.
Josh?
I agree with you, Mark. It's way too much too soon. Here's the biggest problem. Yes, these are fun events. They're great pregame and postgame material. It's a fun experience for fans to some extent. But the quality of the hockey in these games absolutely stinks. The NHL needs to sell its game and make the quality of its game better. And what it's doing right now is showcasing the most boring possible games.
Exactly right, what he said.
You had Penguins and Capitals a few years ago at Heinz Field. Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin. It was a boring game because the ice was so bad. Those guys couldn't work their magic, and some guy in Iowa who's never watched a hockey game before said, oh, what's so special about these guys? This is kind of a boring game. So I understand that it's a fun spectacle, but you need to showcase the great players, and this is a horrible platform in which to do so.
Well, let me ask you both, how many tickets have gone unsold for these games?
Oh, they're selling out all of them.
They're selling out all of them, and these are localized, I believe, localized events for the most part. A Winter Classic that gets everybody revved up in Pittsburgh isn't going to have the same effect in Los Angeles. In Los Angeles, this was a legitimately big deal. Dodger Stadium was used. They had Vin Scully out there. They had Kiss in right field.
Because Wayne Gretzky did so much for hockey.
And Wayne Gretzky, yeah, that part nauseated me too.
And it shouldn't have been Kiss. It should have been Motley Crue, the face of Los Angeles.
I was happy with Kiss out there, but this
Shout at the devil.
It's a local focus that they have with these things. I really believe that. It's a big deal in those communities. People who are not hockey fans will talk about it. I agree that the games are kind of lousy, and there are too many of them. You guys didn't even mention the Heritage Classic games that happen across Canada that are going on as well. So they have a bunch of them, but to me, if you build up that interest at the local level, the regional level, that's a big part of the puzzle too.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We have a lot more going on in Pittsburgh sports to talk about, including the Bus's chances for a Hall of Fame election. But first, a tweet on the NHL outdoor games. Are there too many of them? Not yet, but any additional outdoor games probably waters down the novelty. A handful of games is plenty. That's from T-Grad 7187. Thanks for that. And back with more of the Subway Final Word right after this.